Well, Steve, welcome to High Performance for a conversation about learning from experience. It's lovely to have you with us. Let's start with, in your mind, what is high performance?
What is high performance? So firstly, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I think I'd like to probably answer that question when I actually discover what it is, and I'm not sure I fully have. From my point of view, I'm pretty clear about what I want to work upon at any point in time and get really good people working really hard at it and then learning quickly as we go and being able to adapt. And I'm not sure whether that's high performance because I think we're all striving to try and get there, and I'm not sure we ever actually achieve it. I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you when I think I've achieved it, but I don't think I have yet. So from my point of view, that comes back to being real clear on objective, clear upon the people you're working with, enjoy working with them, but work really, really hard. And then I'd probably say one of the things with that, because I'd say make a load of mistakes, I'd say a potential strength is that being able to change quickly. So I'm quite happy to just say, if I admit I'm wrong, just admit I'm wrong and change the path quickly. And let's get on with that. So, and whether that's a high performance, whether it's a definition of high performance, I don't know. But maybe one day I'll be able to tell you more conclusively what it is.
Well, let's start at that point then about failure and mistakes. Can you pinpoint the biggest mistake or failure in your career that you learned a lot from?
I'd say there was mistakes all the way along, and I'd say trying to learn from them. Some I've learned quicker than others, and probably one of the biggest aspects in my development was treating things as learnings rather than getting stuck in a way. That's probably something you go through those spells and you think you're doing it right and you can't believe why it's not working out, and maybe you just got to be a bit more adaptable than what you were. So there's been plenty of experiences along the way as a player and as a coach, but which ones to nail down? I can think of experiences when I was a schoolboy and captaining my schoolboy team and making mistakes there and thinking, crikey, I've got to do this differently. Because that, right from back then, I was always thinking about how do we get better? How do we absolutely get better?
And how old were you then, Steve?
Young. I mean, I can. The mistakes you make. Like I was fortunate. I remember winning a schoolboy rugby game, and we won it by 40 points. And post the game, asking the teachers to leave the room because I wanted to address the players in person because it wasn't good enough performance. And I'm 17 years old or 16 years old, I can't remember what I was. And then saying we're all doing extra training on Monday. I want you there, and because we're not fit enough. And you kind of go, that I'm not sure quite. But then you realise that maybe that ain't the right way to do it. Maybe that isn't the right way to do it. And probably through the first part of my career, and it's probably that expectation was probably, whether it's the right term, I don't know, but that probably wasn't good. Probably needed to be more empathetic. So certainly tried to learn as I went about being a bit more empathetic.
But can we take you back to that 17-year-old in that dressing room, Steve? Because you know, as a coach, that's almost utopia for a player-led group like that to be driving each other on to improve standards. So where did that come from, that willingness to stand out and demand higher standards from your own peer group?
Just wanted to win. I just wanted to win. That probably I remember this period pre going back a few years before that. I remember I was 14 years old, and the reason I remember I was 14 years old at this point because you could become a member of the local gym in the leisure centre when you were 14 years old. And I remember at that point why I remember this, because I said I dreamed of playing for England, and I was just a kid, just I'd only been playing rugby. I'd only picked a rugby ball up for the first time when I was 11. So I'd been playing rugby 3 years, and I dreamed of playing for England. And I'd used to watch England play on the TV, and used to get, when they sang the national anthem, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, just that. And I remember why I'm telling this, because I used to go into that gym when I was 14 years old and said to myself, I'd set myself these ridiculous targets on the rowing machine or the runner or whatever it was, because I had no idea about how to train properly. And you'd say, if I don't make this, I will never play for England. And it didn't matter what it was, you'd find a way of making it. You'd fall off the rower or fall, you just, and that was the thing I always said to myself, was that if I fail in what I'm trying to do, it will never be for lack of trying. And that's the thing, I was not a talented rugby player, not gifted particularly physically, but the thing you got to have is if you sit clear on what you want to do, is if you fail, you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say it wasn't for lack of trying. So that's where I was driven by.
But then how did you balance that up at that sort of adolescent stage of life with the need to want to fit in and be popular, with that desire to want to excel and stand out?
I'm not sure I was ever popular.
Did you have a desire to be popular?
Is it crass if I say not really?
That's fine.
So that's probably then it was a weakness of mine, that through certainly early part as a player was then people are driven by different things and people are different, and if you treat everybody the same, it doesn't work. So in this journey we're on, and as I keep trying to learn, is how do I do things better? And that which just comes back to the first question you asked me, and I wasn't trying to be clever or anything. The Leicester Tigers try to run the best programme we possibly can, get good people around, and then I think I'm generally pretty good at saying when I've got it wrong or quickly learning and doing it better, because we keep just trying to do it better. We're only just 20 months into what we're trying to do here, and so in 20 months we're trying to cover a lot of ground quickly, so you got to learn fast, and that's probably goes all the way back. I'm again still really clear on what I want to do, and if we fail, it won't be for lack of trying, but we'll learn fast. We'll learn really fast.
And how do you feel now about being popular? Because when you're the coach of one of the biggest rugby clubs in the country and you want to get those players on side, but also you do have to please the fans and please the board and please the media, or at least some people do. Is there an element of your decision making that comes down to how will that play out with other people?
I think in the position I'm in, you can't please all the people all the time. Every week I've got all these great rugby players who all want to play, and I can only pick 15 of them in the starting team and then 8 of them to come on and finish the game. And so inevitably there are going to be people that are disappointed. The biggest thing in terms of that would be that if they're treating people respectfully, and that's probably, so I want to treat people respectfully, and then I want myself, my coaches, to be treated respectfully, because we're going to make mistakes, and but we're all trying to do the right thing. We're trying to get better and trying to do the right thing by people. And then for the supporters, and I'd say this, they don't expect us to win every game, but I do want to make sure they're proud of their team. And I say this consistently to the players, you got to be proud of what you do. It doesn't mean you're going to win. And I told them a story about the 2011 Premiership final, and I was playing and captaining Saracens, and the clock had run dead, and we're defending on our own goal line, and I think we're winning by 4 points. So they can't kick a penalty goal to win. They need to score a try to win. And they had a player, it was one of the, my memory's vague, but it's one of the Tulangi boys on the touchline, a brilliant player. And if they'd got the ball to him, because we were defending our own goal line for about 8 minutes afterwards, and after the final whistle, after the 80 minutes was up, And if they'd got the ball to him, we weren't going to be able to stop him. Like, but they couldn't get. They say if somebody had managed to pull off one miracle pass, they win, we lose. But they didn't pull off that pass, so we won, they lost. And I said, boys, you can't be defined by whether that pass happens or not. You just can't live your life like that. So suddenly, yes, I'm happy we won, and I'd have been sad if we'd lost. But you can't go around built on whether a pass happens or not. You got to say, right, we put in something we're real proud of. We did everything we possibly could. Today it was good enough, or it wasn't good enough. But either way, we're going to get better. And that's very much kind of the message I have. I'm going to try my best, and I want to treat people respectfully, and I want the supporters to be proud of their team. And if we could do that, I think we're a long way towards success.
Well, let me take you back then, Steve, to that 14-year-old ambition that you had to go and play for England. And then when you finally got there, and not only did you play for them, when you captaining them during that 2008 Autumn International, and then the Six Nations a year after. Now, you almost seem to be scapegoated a lot there for the wider performance of that England team. So how did you deal with that at that time? So you've achieved an ambition, and then you're getting hammered, and you're demanding this idea of being treated with respect. Tell us about how you process that.
I'd probably say, so back then, and you can probably tell here as we chat that I care about people being treated with respect. I care about treating people respectfully. But we're all the sum of our experiences, and going through those experiences of captaining my country, that's informed me in the way I go about things now. You know, it always says we can't just go through absolute good times, win all the time, and just learn from those. There's other times, there's tough times. And the fact was, I was able to play for England, and I was captain in my country. And yeah, was it a challenging period? It was most definitely a challenging period. I wanted us to win more games. We all wanted us to win more games, and we didn't. And I remember the team hotel one day, walking back into my room and thinking to myself, it was certainly a tough period, and you're thinking how to get through this, what's going on, what's the next term, what's happening next, and you think about in 6 months' time or in a year's time, this isn't going to feel like this. The rawness of these emotions is not going to be there, and this is going to be you're going to be better one way or another for going through this. Ultimately, did I make mistakes? As captain, were mistakes made? Yeah, they absolutely were. Would I want them to win more games? Yeah. I want the England team to be successful. There's very few people around to be bigger supporters of the England rugby team than me. So I want England, whether I was a player, whether I was a captain, a coach, wherever, I just want the England team to win. So those experiences kind of definitely shape the way you think, and it informs you for the future.
What was the criticism, Steve, in that period that either stung you the most or kind of represented how little empathy some people can have for others?
I wouldn't particularly say that there was one thing that stung. I think that I'd probably say that the team lacked alignment. The whole period we were in there lacked an alignment about what we were trying to do and how we were going about it. And that then made things very difficult. And as captain, I have to take a large amount of responsibility for that. And I do. The aspect is you got to play well. And as a captain, if you got your place in the team questioned, and that's what was, you got to place the team in question, and it was very hard to lead. You got to play well. So people ask me about leadership, and firstly, play well. I think so Martin Johnson was in charge at that point in time, and I think it's something he'd said as when he was post 2003. So what's the first, as captain, what do you think? First thing, play well. So first thing about leaders, you got to play well. And so from my point of view, I want to play better.
And what about now, when you're in charge at Leicester? What What are the key lessons from that time specifically? You said, it informed the way that you lead and manage now.
Oh, I think there's the way I try and do my job now is informed by millions of different things and experiences along the way. And that was just one small period. That was a 2-year period from 2008 to 2010. I was fortunate to play 16 years professionally, and then I moved off to Japan and coached the Japan team and coached in a different country. Then came back, met all kinds of different coaches on that journey. And the things, everyone's a teacher in some way. I learn so much off my little boys. I've got 2 little boys, and I learn enormous amounts of them.
Like what, for example?
I think it's right. So going back to last summer, and I said this to the team because this made me think. Going back to last summer, with a paddling pool, just out on just in the patio, and my 2 little boys said, "Will you get in the paddling pool with us?" And I said, "Of course, yeah, of course you do." Nice sunny day, and the water's freezing cold, and I am quite literally just dipping my toe in, just starting to try and get into this paddling pool, and my 2 little boys sprint past me, just jump in, water spraying you, and it's freezing cold, and they could not care less. It's freezing cold, and it takes their breath away, and you can see them gasp. It's a cold paddle, and I thought to myself, here I am, 40 or 42 now, and you dip your toe in because you're worried because it's going to be cold or whatever, and the 2 little boys just don't know it, but don't care, just jump in, and when you look at it, I said this, I said, boys, like, you can dip your toe into what we're trying to do here. You can dip your toe in, or you can just jump right in, and we'll have some interesting experiences. But let's try and jump right in, like the little kids do, and probably like when you were just and I don't know, Damian, you boxed, didn't you?
That's so, right. Yeah.
I don't know whether you still get in the ring. I don't know but when you're just a little kid and you just jump on. I grew up playing football. And I only wanted to be a professional footballer. I just dreamed of playing for Preston North End, and you just mistakes, you don't care, just want to play, and you set up leagues and you play football in the street. You don't care. Let's just play, and then suddenly you start thinking about all the what ifs and all the mistakes, and you start just dipping your toe in.
And when does that start? When did that start for you? That maybe that cautiousness or not going all in, as one of our previous guests, Stephen Gerrard, said.
I don't fully know, but I think it's harder for young people these days than it was when I was a player. The young people these days have got all the different things of social media and aspects that they're just getting scrutinised far more than ever before. And so things go well, they get praised, things go badly, and the reality is, you're never that good and you're never that bad. It's always somewhere in the middle. But they're always, you hear stories about sports where players checking phones at half time, checking social media. I've heard that. Now, thankfully, that ain't never happened in the change room I've been in. But you hear these things and you think, wow. And so from where it starts, I don't know. But that the innocence of that youth, as people put it far better, where people start overthinking things. Let's just jump right in and let's have a real go at things. And if we get it wrong, we'll learn. But let's properly have a go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, no, go on, Jake.
Could I just ask then, Steve, for people listening to this, what advice from the way that you've got your players to think in that way would you pass on to teachers and to leaders in business and to parents that are struggling to, they just say, come on, just go for it. But it's difficult for people to just do that when you just tell them to do that. I'd be interested to know whether there's any techniques that you've employed effectively to give your players, which what I guess is probably freedom as much as anything else, isn't it? Mental freedom.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you. So learn a bit about myself is that. So my boys, little boys, like to climb. So fine, you go for a walk, find a tree, they want to climb a tree, and you're like, wow. You know, the bit inside is going, I don't want them to climb that tree because that's a high tree, and you want them to come down, and you don't want them up there because if they fall, they're going to get hurt. And you're going, but they need to climb the tree, and they want to climb the tree. And if I just ever let them get to 6 foot off the ground, because then I can hold on to them the whole time, then they're probably not going to get very high in other aspects of life. But you're still there underneath them, and you're thinking even if he's 15 foot up, you're still there going, I'll catch him. But they don't know that. You're letting them be. And I think from my point of view is encouraging the players to give the very best of themselves, to understand that there are going to be mistakes, and they are, because we want to push it to the edge of their abilities, so things are going to go wrong. But then they're not going to be judged by that. They're not going to be defined by that. That we're going to say, I'm going to treat every player here equally. I'm going to treat you all differently, but I'm going to treat everybody here equally. And there's some things that are going to be non-negotiable, but I want you to try your hardest. And if you drop a ball, then I'll try and coach it better.
But then your challenge is, you say these things to them and they're looking at you going, you might be saying that, Steve, but I know that if I mess up in training, I don't make the team come the weekend. That's the challenge for you, is to provide that safety blanket for them, isn't it? But then still make the tough decisions.
Yeah, that's the environment we're in, and everybody signs up to it. You don't have to. Nobody forced me to want to play for England. Nobody forced me to accept being captain. Nobody forced me to be Leicester Tigers head coach. Nobody forces you to do any of that. So players, we have agency over what we do. So players want to get involved in what we do. It's tough. Like, we're privileged. People talk about sportsmen being lucky. I always found that somebody said that to me very early in my career. You're lucky, and I said, I'm not sure I'm lucky. I said, I work bloody hard. I'm privileged to do what I do. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to do what I do. And we're involved in elite sport through this last couple of years when big areas of society have actually been locked down, quite literally locked down. Professional sport's been able to carry on. So that's a privilege. So we're privileged to do what we do. With that, there are demands. We have to perform this to a high standard. I'd love to still be a professional rugby player. I'd still love to play. I can't physically do it, so you stop doing it. But that, I suppose, where it comes back to your question is, I want the players to be the best they can be, and then I want to try and improve that level. My job as a coach is to try and get them to be the best and then improve that level. Then ultimately, they know there's only 15 shirts to start the game. So everyone's working towards being one of the best to be in that 15.
I do love that idea that it's like that Albert Einstein quote that not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So I'm interested in terms of you, like in modern day sport, you can measure, you've got GPS, you've got stats and facts coming out of your ears. How do you discern from the noise and go, that's the thing that's going to tell me whether we've got that alignment that you said was maybe missing when you were England captain?
The first, if I talk about this period, the last 20 months that I've been at Leicester Tigers, somebody said to me before I started, he said, Leicester Tigers, said you're, the person meant this in a really helpful way. He said they're a team that go away and nothing could be further from the truth in the way that I go about what I want to be and how I want to be a team that goes away. So that was before I started. So pretty much on the first day I started, I said, this is how we're seen. This is how we're seen. And if you're a team that goes away, you can't be proud. You can't be proud of what you're doing, and you can't. You haven't got any supporters. How can your supporters be proud if you're a team that go away? So, but it's in Leicester Tigers. I played against Leicester Tigers a lot of times. The toughest. Sometimes you won, sometimes you lost. More often than not, you lost against them. But crikey, you knew it was going to be a tough game. And I said to guys, I'll talk about tactics. I'll talk about our training methodology. I'll talk about the techniques we're going to use. I said, but the thing, we can't be a team that goes away. And so you can measure that to some extent, because I went and looked at it, and I'd looked at, in the 2 years previous, 12 times the team had been winning at 60 minutes and lost. Or been in winning positions and lost the game. So you can measure it. But I said, this is a behaviour. Before we do anything else, for us to before we can become anywhere near the team we want to be, we can't be a team that goes away. So,
how do you make a decision on the right kinds of people to come on that journey with you, Steve? Damian talks often about cultural architects, the people that will distribute your message around the team even when you're not with them. How do you go about assessing the right kind of people to be in your space?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I wish I could have perfect information. I wish I could have all of it, every bit of information, and understand it fully. You always do the chat. You do the character references everybody else does. You check up as well as you can. You meet them. You try and be a good judge of character yourself. Learn a bit more. Trust my gut feel about things. But the key thing is surrounding yourself. One of the things I've found here is surrounding yourself with people who know more than you, are better than you at things, and then are going to be willing to point things out to you. So I'm fortunate that there's people I have around us that are good. Aled Walters, he's just a brilliant coach, brilliant person, and has such an incredible feel. So you go, right, this guy thinks differently to this guy thinks different to me, and I want to trust his view. And I think he's incredible. So I'm fortunate to have him. Kevin Sinfield, who we've mentioned, who is just, I mean, I could talk about his coaching, which I think is excellent, and the results speak that. I could talk about, but just as a person, the people just want to work for him. They want to work for him, and so to have him sitting next to us at games where he's got this feel and a calmness about him. He's just got a calm aura that just, he walks into a room and there's respect. And I've got a multitude of people like that I'm surrounded by who know so much more than I do. I've just got to have the wisdom to listen to them.
But also the lack of ego to listen to them as well, because surely in your role that there comes sort of a sense that the final say is with you. So how do you get out of your own way to listen to all these diverse, different voices?
Well, I think everybody has an ego. There was an athletics coach who made that point to me years ago. It was an athletics coach where he's trying a guy called Malcolm Arnold, and he said it to me years and years ago. He said, Steve, just don't be mistaken. Everybody has an ego. So by accepting the responsibility of being captain, because no one makes you captain, you accept that responsibility. By accepting the responsibility of head coach, you know that you accept the responsibility, you accept the accountability for it as well. So the decision, people want the responsibility but not the accountability. You accept the accountability. So I've always been willing to accept the accountability. So yes, the decision-making process is clear, and you know where it stops. But I think one of the big things goes about what we can do if nobody cares. Somebody else's phrase, not mine. But not amazing what can be achieved when nobody cares who gets the credit. And I don't know who said it, but I don't care who gets credit. I just want the people I work with to just keep getting better, myself to get better.
Hey everyone, it's Jake here. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the Gallagher Leadership Series in association with the High Performance Podcast. You know what I'd love you to do? I'd love you to take a look at this quick clip. This is rugby player Ben Earl talking about Owen Farrell in the Gallagher Rivals Together series.
I think someone we probably both know very well is Owen.
Yeah.
And I'd say he's in that category. He doesn't let you have a bad training session, does he? Because the standards.
If you're like a couple of % off, you're firstly hearing about it, even if you're not aware about it. Then it definitely raises the standard. Like everyone talks about. Obviously, he's been out injured for a couple of weeks with us. The standard of training when he comes back is mental. It's night and day, and that's just not like that. Anyone else is like not good enough. It's just that he's wired differently in that regard. Is that he wants the best. And he'll only accept the best, and that is so motivating for you as a teammate, but also for me to learn off.
You know what? There's loads more where that came from. The likes of Benno Urbano, Freddie Burns, Danny Kerr, talking in a way that we just don't see or hear sports stars doing often enough. Just check out the Gallagher YouTube channel, and you can also find the link to all of the episodes in the description to this episode. So take a look. So many people listen to this podcast who run teams, and they will be listening going, well, I have a bunch of people around me, but I don't kind of feel like they ever really talk the truth to me. So what have you said to your team so they are absolutely clear that you need the truth, you need to be pushed, you need accountability, you need honesty, you need openness, you need vulnerability? Can you talk us through some of those conversations, or maybe what you say when you first work with someone so they really understand the kind of leader that you want to be and the kind of atmosphere you're trying to create?
Yep. I think there's a two-way thing there, because I've done different jobs as assistant coaches. I've done different jobs as captain, and quite clearly you learn as a period. I used to think everything is just so simple. Like, I remember as a captain of a team once telling the coaches to leave the field because they're getting in our way, and they're stopping me captaining the team. Turn around, we've done something wrong, and I've got 4 different coaches on the pitch having 4 different conversations, different groups of players, which means I can't deal with things. I told them to get off the pitch, and you go, right, that's simple. Don't mean there's nothing personal. I don't have any criticism of them. We just lost the opening game of the season, and it felt to me like the coaches were trying to I don't know what they were trying to do. And I said, just get off the pitch. And I probably used a bit other language to be a bit more blunt. And I didn't mean anything personally by it, but it undoubtedly offended some people. And I just, at that point, when I was young, didn't understand that. I'll just tell you what I think. And all we care about is just being the best team we can be. But it does. People are. So there's how you deliver it, and there's also how you receive it. And certainly now, in the position I'm in, there's how I deliver, and there's also how I receive. And there's quite clearly, I can, if I receive things in a certain manner, there'll be people will be very, very reticent to come forward again. So I'm always making sure that I receive information in the right way. I also make sure that
what is the right way then, Steve?
So the right way for me would be acknowledge, thank, be grateful for it. Even if your initial thing is to disagree, be grateful. And there's a lot to be said for gratitude and trying to practice gratitude. So I'll make sure I'm grateful to them. I will make sure if people disagree with me, I'll ask for evidence, and I'll be real. So that's an upfront thing. You come forward, disagree with me, but come with evidence, because it's the first thing I'm going to do. Is I'm going to say, where's your evidence of this? And if you don't have evidence and you feel it's a gut feel, wherever it's a feeling, no worries. Just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge that's what you're thinking. And then I try not to react to my initial. Try not to act upon my initial reaction, because sometimes that's not a great way to be. The other thing I'd probably be clear about was there are other avenues to. There are other avenues to deliver the information. So if I was very blunt, I didn't mind if I wanted to say something to my coaches, I'd tell them. Other people necessarily aren't quite like that. So there are other avenues. I share an office with somebody who's far more experienced than I am. He's brilliant. And I won't tell you his age on it, but he's got an incredible manner about him. So he's always, people can always talk to him and he'll deliver it to me. And he can always tell us the home truths if you need him delivered. And having avenues like that, I think that's also, I'd say I'm pretty accessible, but some people might not say that. But there is always a route to deliver any information to me. But going back to say, being respectful of people, what they've got to say, why they've got to say it, and being grateful to them for it.
And how much was these lessons that you've learned, how much of that was informed by that fascinating experience you had of going out to Japan and coaching there, where I assume when you first went, the language barrier might have been an obstacle for you, where you've still got to get people to buy into your philosophy and your teaching without necessarily having the tools of being blunt or direct that you maybe have had at Saracens and when you were in England?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So we played a game, there's a stadium in Tokyo called Prince Chichibunomiya Stadium, and I might got the pronunciation wrong. So we played an international there. I forget, I think maybe Japan versus Canada, Japan versus USA. And we made a substitution, and I was forwards coach, coaching the line out there, and we played this line out play. I could see all the players were about to play the play, and we just put a substitution on, and suddenly he was walking into the line. Now, the people here aren't rugby fans, so the ball is thrown in from the touchline, and there's certain players got to jump or be lifted to win the ball. It's then passed out, and other players in the back line and play the attacking options and carry the ball into contact and get us over the game line. The player we just put on should have gone into the back line, and he went into the line out, and I could see this happening, and I couldn't understand why it was happening. And inevitably, we didn't win the ball. It messed up. And the next day, I got the group together of callers, leaders, and I said, can you just talk me through this? And they said, oh, well, we'd called the play, and then the substitution was made, but then I said, yes, and then there was a break, and you could have easily changed the play. And they said, yeah. But the player who'd come on said he could do it. And I said, right, okay. Had he practiced it once? No. Did you have confidence he could do it? No. So I said, so you're putting somebody in a position there that he's never practiced, doesn't have the skill set to do it. You're setting him up to fail. And not one of you countered it. Not one of you said, this is not the right thing to do. And so they all, nobody had said anything. I said, guys, so understanding about the culture of respect. And I said, boys, do you think that's respectful? Do you think that's the right thing? Do you think that was respectful to putting somebody in a position something he couldn't do? And ultimately, we started having a longer conversation about this, and ultimately it became no. But somebody needs to step forward and speak there. So suddenly you're going, right, wow, this is very different to me. This is very different. I didn't see that coming at all. And you're going, right, this is how I need to coach. This is what I need to coach. This isn't the nuts and bolts of how you lift somebody or how you carry the ball into contact. It's that, but it's all this other stuff. And being able to coach it. And then we played an international first game we'd played, I think, against a tier 1 test team. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, the players here, they're so harmonious and respectful, and they're beautiful people. Just a beautiful culture. I love Japan. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, if we respect too much here, we could get blown away early. And I remember distinctly teaching the forwards that week, not about fighting, because you don't fight, you don't throw punches anymore in rugby, but you wrestle and you grab hold of people and you stand up for your friends and you stand up and you show we're not backing down and all that. I remember showing the players how to do it because I'd never once seen the Japan forwards do it. And I said, so boys, this is how you do it, and this is how you grab him, and this is how you do it, and this is how you stand, and this is how you wrestle. The thing people call handbags, but it's showing you're not going to back down. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm coaching this. But the players, because they were brave people, brave players, tough players, hard players, but I felt there was something different, and they needed that. You realise, wow, I'm coaching this. because I think they need it. And thinking the next day, thinking, wow, I could get somebody sent off. I don't know what's going to happen. But in the first 5 minutes, the whole forward pack stands up and says, we're not going backwards. And thinking, right, so the coaching isn't just about notes and crosses on a whiteboard and you go here and you do that. It's all kinds of things about the culture. So that experience of going to Japan was, I just feel very, very lucky that I had that experience, and I am using the word lucky there. I feel very lucky I had that opportunity to go to Japan. Beautiful place, beautiful country, beautiful culture.
What we're talking about here, Steve, is learning from experience. So that was obviously a key experience in your life, and the most recent experience is coaching and running Leicester Tigers. So taking on board everything you learned to the point where you walked into that football club, I'd love to know what the first thing you decided to say to the team and to the players was to get them on board, let them know what you expected, and also, as important as anything else, let them know who had just walked in the door. Can you take us back to how you formulated your greeting to that club and how you delivered it?
Drafted it about 100 times, maybe 1,000 times. Went through it over and over in my head, and going, this is, I know where I want to get across and how to get across to them. And so lots and lots of drafts.
What did you want to get across?
That the first thing we need to do is fight, and we can't be a team that goes away. Like, we just can't be that. You got to fight. And I said, I'll be clear about how we're going to play, and I think you got to be clear about how you want to play. You got to be clear what you stand for and how you perceive it. But I'm not. That's all secondary to the behaviours that we want, and these are the behaviours. This is what you got to fight for every single minute, and I use that term in terms of the fight, in terms of the rugby sense, and that was really it, and that was the message. That was if there was one thing I needed to get across to the team, that was it.
What about your? So I was going to say, what about your first actions as well, Steve? So you've said your first words. What did you want to be seen to be doing on that first day?
Took the team. We had the meeting at Welford Road in the stands, Matty Hollywood's Welford Road Stadium. And I had the meeting in the stand, and I said, because I wanted to do things differently. I wanted to make sure we were clear about what we're about, clear about what we stood for, and it was very, very basic. There's nothing. I would like to tell you, I'm a really simple coach, guys, and I'm really not trying to be a fake humility when I say that. I'm a really simple coach. There's nothing fancy. There's nothing elaborate. So I wanted to be clear about what we stood for, and I went to that stadium many, many times and played in front of those supporters many, many times on the opposing team. And I keep coming back to this thing about you gotta be proud of what you do, and you gotta feel part of something. And so I wanted players feeling part of something and proud of the fight that they're gonna have. And because we didn't have it, we're gonna have it. That was the biggest thing I was gonna coach, was that. So took them to Welford Road and said, this is it. This is where this is our place. This is the heart of Leicester Tigers, and you're the people who are gonna make it work.
And I think it's fair to say, Steve, that given your position in the table at the minute, that people from outside would go, well, it is working. So when did you first sense that your simple methods were starting to take hold and it was starting to get buy-in?
Yeah, so I'd say the person who deserves enormous credit is Alan Walters, because he's got the team fit. But we got so far to go to where we want to be, and that's the thing that's pretty exciting for us. In that, I think there's so much more that we can go. We've got a very, very young team, and we've got a group of players that have come through the academy system that are young. They're in their early 20s, and they just need to be coached real well, and so that then hopefully the team will be good in the future. So, but what I'm doing right now is still keeping it incredibly simple. We play a game, we review it, and by the lunchtime of 2 days after the game, we don't talk about it anymore. And then we're all about the next game, and I don't talk about anything further back, and I don't talk anything further forward. We just work on it on that basis. And maybe that'll have to change at some point in the future, at some point in my coaching career. But that's it. So I think one of the changes we've got is the players focusing upon now. And I'd say that's one of the pleasing things. Just focus on now. What can I do today to be better? What can I do today?
But given that you say you don't look back, this question might seem a bit silly, but given that you've been involved in championship winning teams, so you do have that experience of knowing what it takes and knowing where you need to get to. How do you assess where you are at this moment in time versus the experience you've got of knowing what's required?
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the reasons why you start looking at people like Richard Wigglesworth. He's a player and a coach. Kevin Simfield, Aled Walters. These people have won a lot. These people have been in those situations a lot and understand the behaviours of that and know more about it than I do. So that's leaning upon their experiences. That's vital for me. We want to be successful. We want to keep doing the right things each day. And I've got good people around me and good people around the team to help guide that journey.
So we sometimes talk then, Steve, because again, a big thing that we might get chief execs or people in business listening to this, that they say, how long does it take to turn a team around? And we often talk about the 5 stages of the dream stage when you first come in and get everyone excited, the leap stage of getting people showing that they're going to buy into it, the fight stage where it gets tough, where you don't see the results fast enough, the climb stage where you see progress, and then the arrival stage where you're hoisting that trophy aloft and enjoying the success. Where are you on that 5-stage journey at the moment then? Yeah.
It's interesting because I've got my notes on my laptop of that presentation I sat through where you spoke and presented a lot, and then we had a coffee afterwards, there's loads of interesting things that came from that, and I've used lots of those lessons along this way. There is one. I was introduced to a business model, and I showed it to the players, and I'm just checking the name of it, and I think so it'd be some version of the Kubler-Ross curve, I think it is, and I drew it up on the board one day, and I said it's like a U-shape curve, and I said I don't know where on this curve we are now. I don't know, and I did it a couple of times, and I said, I don't know where on this curve we are. I don't know if this in the early days, I don't know if we're still going down, but this is what Leicester Tigers have done. I don't know if we've plateaued at the bottom yet. Maybe we've started the incline, I don't know. But our responsibility is this, and our opportunity is this. And so I said, when we go at this, we're going to go up. The club is going to improve. The privilege we have is to be part of this, and the opportunity we have is to make that upward curve as steep as we possibly can. And how steep that is going to be dependent upon 2 things. It's going to be dependent, one, on how hard we work, and so let's make sure nobody works hard on us. And the second thing is how quick we learn. So let's make sure we learn faster than anybody else. So if we keep it to those 2 things, let's learn really fast, work really hard. Learn really fast, work really hard. And let's not obsess about making mistakes, because we're going to make them. Let's just accept we're going to make them because we're not perfect. Let's just learn really quick so we don't repeat them. And then we'll make that curve as steep as it possibly can. So I'll say the same thing to you. I have no idea where we are. We're somewhere on that upward trajectory, but we were pretty low. Leicester Tigers are the worst team. The win rate was by far the worst of any team in the Premiership. The team should have been relegated had Saracens not been punished for what they were punished for. So the team should have been in the Championship, and we weren't. So we were far behind any other team. So we've had to work hard. But I'll keep to those 2 things. Let's work really hard, learn really fast.
And as we're talking now, you've gone from that team that was struggling to a team who've got a tasty 12-point lead at the top of the Premiership. Have you allowed yourself any time to pat yourself on the back, to say well done, to even for a moment take a breath and enjoy it?
The players deserve. The players are the ones. Ultimately, yes, all the coaching team, the support staff around the team, everybody there is working really hard, and I say thank you to them for all their hard work. And I probably don't say that enough, and I'll probably contradict myself because I said gratitude was important. The players are the ones that each week go out there and have the opportunity. They're the ones who've got to jump right in. They're the ones who you can either dip the toe in or just jump right in. They're the ones who have got the opportunity to do things special, and we're trying to help them do it and enjoy that journey with them. So I said on Saturday night in the change rooms afterwards, I thank you for all your hard work. You should be real proud of yourself. And I talk about that when you're looking in the mirror the next morning. What are you going to see? What are you going to think? So I think when you look in the mirror in the morning, you should be very proud of yourselves. So let's keep feeling that way. Let's keep doing that.
Brilliant. Look, Steve, we've reached the point in our interview where we have some quick fire questions at the end. And the people that listen to the podcast love hearing people's answers to this one. And the first one is always, what are your 3 non-negotiables that you and the people around you need to buy into? The areas where you just can't compromise.
Fight. Number 1, fight.
Yeah, fight.
It's probably come through in the interview.
It has, yeah.
Number 2 is probably work. I don't mind us making mistakes. I really don't mind. I don't mind us if we don't win. It's all right. It's not happy, but you're all right. But it can't ever be through lack of effort. So you're a fight. You've got to work really, really hard. And you've got to want to get better and help the people around you get better. So I suppose that probably comes to the next thing is when someone comes in, they're either giving energy or they're taking it. Just nothing's neutral. So you've got to give energy. You've got to give energy to it. You walk in a room, you've got to give energy to that room. You can't take energy away from it.
If you could go back to one moment in time, what would it be and why?
In
your life, one moment
in my life. I'd go back to when I was a young player, tell myself to be a bit more empathetic, because I wasn't. I'd probably go back to the try not to be a perfectionist, because there's no doubt in what I've said here. I believe in what I've said to you guys, but I'm a perfectionist, and that can be a challenge. So you're always, as a guy, I'm coaching myself as well. So if I could go back and not be that perfectionist, except we are imperfect, we're going to make mistakes, and I hate making mistakes. So, but it's part of life. So, and I say that to the players. I'll say that all the time. Because I'm going to try my best. I'm going to make mistakes. I don't want to, I promise you. So I'd probably go back to some point in my younger self and talk about that.
Very good. Steve, have you got a book that you'd recommend our audience read that has impacted you?
Favourite book is The Alchemist. Actually, should I go the Barcelona way? Is that what I'm going to say? I got the book.
So, I like The Alchemist, the Coelho book.
Yeah, The Alchemist.
Why is that?
Just someone on a journey. I read it lots of times. First book I read to my boys. Just someone on a journey. Just resilience, and you question yourself on that journey, and you question yourself through whether to keep going on that journey. Is it really worth it? You go through tough times and you go, is this worth it? And just keep going on the journey. Trusting you, so not losing sight of where you're trying to get to. The ability to trust your gut feel. Trust if you keep doing things right, if you keep doing things what you believe in, if you keep working hard, then maybe events will conspire to come in your way. So the law of attraction, that's what I love about that book. So I read that a lot of times. And then second one would probably go Zen in the martial arts. Just so many lessons in life in that book.
Brilliant. And how important is legacy to you, Steve?
How do you define legacy?
How you'll be remembered.
I'd like. So one, I don't think about legacy. I can honestly say I don't think about that at all. What I'd like to think about is that the people you interact with are better for their interaction with you. You've left some positive effect in some way. It doesn't mean it's going to be pleasant, because sometimes coaching's tough. Sometimes me and a player, it's not all sweetness and light. Sometimes you have tough conversations, but the fact that there's going to be a positive effect there, and that comes to probably the biggest question I was asked was once. Would you want your sons to be coached by you? And it's the best question I've ever been asked. Because at the time when that person asked me that question, it was 2016. It was July 2016 he asked me that question. And unequivocally, the answer to that question, I could guarantee it then, was absolutely no. Absolutely no. You're right, wow. So then what do I want? Oh, yeah. So then that goes into another discussion. So I won't go into that, but you're right, I've got to assess my coaching here and what I'm going to do differently.
What would you say now?
Sometimes. So I'm better than I was, but I'm not where I need to be.
Still a work in progress, like all of us. The final question, and this is kind of your last message to the people listening to this podcast, something to leave them thinking about. What would you say is your final golden rule to living a high performance life?
I'd almost go back to the start, and I'll go to that point where maybe I can tell you when I achieve that, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to achieve it. But I'll go is that you go through this period where you try to be better, and you repeat a mistake, and you're gutted with yourself for doing it. And you're just going to continue to try to be better. And making mistakes, and it doesn't mean it's the end. It's just another part of the journey that you just got to keep learning from. So I'll just keep. I think what I'd encourage people to do is jump right in. Go back to my boys and the paddling pool, and just encourage people to jump right in, because it's the quickest way to learn. So there, that's it. Sorry, I don't have anything more prophetic than that.
Doesn't need to be. That's the title for this episode, Damian. Don't dip your toe in the water.
Yeah.
I think it's you know what, Steve, it's been such an interesting conversation, because the whole point of this was about giving people lessons in regards to learning from your experience. And I think that, when you talk about the player that played for all those years, and then the player that captained his country and played for England in a difficult time and went to Saracens, and then still found time to go and do a degree and do work experience with Lloyds, and then off to Japan, and now you end up at Leicester. I just get, not only do I get a sense of someone who's grown everywhere he's gone along the way, but I also get a sense of someone who probably for too long was too hard on himself. And although he still holds himself to a very high standard, he's probably learned that empathy and kindness to yourself and to those around you is most likely the single most important element to life and to rugby.
Yeah, and you got the words that I can't necessarily put into words what I feel more, and I wish I could do that better. I think from us, I played about 450 games of top flight rugby, and I remember in any great detail 10 of them. Roughly 10, and they're pretty much all losses. And because that was what stands out to me, and that's what and I go through periods in my career where you're thinking, I don't want to be criticised. I don't want, and what I say to my players right now is, I'm trying to tell them the mistakes I made, I don't want them to make, because I can tell. I'm not quite sure how to do it, but I know how not to do it a lot of the time. So that's just, I want the players to enjoy what we do. We are privileged to do what we do, and I'm privileged to work with a really good group of players. We've got lots to learn, and we're going to make mistakes along the way, but I'm not going to hang on to those mistakes. I want to try and learn from them fast.
And we're privileged to have shared an hour with you. So thank you so much for taking the time, Steve.